Okay, now normally prior to assembling a kit, especially a clone, you really want to go through, disassemble everything, grease everything up, make sure everything's moving smoothly, um, and go through your frame, tighten up all the bolts that need to be tightened up, apply Loctite to any screw going into a metal piece. You just really want to go through the whole kit and check it out, just to make sure that it's going to be properly assembled. These things get kind of thrown together in the factory, so you can't trust them when you get them. So you always disassemble them, check them yourself, go through everything, grease stuff and whatever. But I'm just going to show you real quickly how to assemble the kit, because I've actually got to disassemble the whole thing to put it into my Apache fuselage. So real quickly to start off, we're going to start off with the skids. I'm just going to mount the skid horses to the frame of the helicopter here. And the screws for this come in the same package. Just mount them up. You got the little nuts go on top, and the screws come from the bottom. And you just slide these through like that, and then you can slip these down on there, like so. But thing to do is mount these first, then slide the pipes through. So I'm just going to do that and come back. All right, skids are mounted, and you can see here I've got those little skid nuts in between the skid horses because there's just not a lot of room here on the ends. All right, so moving on to mounting the tail boom here. What you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to take off this tail boom block. So you got 4 screws on each side, and you want to go ahead and take those 4 screws out. And it may also help you to take one of these screws out here for the receiver tray, and you got to kind of spread it apart. And there you go. Because what we got to do is we actually got to take these screws out, and we got to split this apart so that we can get the tail belt around this pulley. But first, we got to put the belt through the tail boom. And before I do that, what I like to do is in the same bag as the tail boom, you got your guides and your mounts. I always like to get these mounted now so that I don't forget later. And they just slide on here. But after you mount your tail boom on your helicopter, you're not going to be able to put these on. So, put them on now. Alright, so that's that. Okay, now to get the tail belt through the boom, I just take a piece of wire and slide it down through my tail boom. Just slide that off for now. And I'm going from the end with a slot. Come down, just kind of wrap it around here, and I'm just going to put a little knot in here so it doesn't slide off. And what I'm going to try to do is make sure that my belt is kink free, and then I'm going to pull it right through the boom. Alright, now I'm going to loosen up these screws, spread this box apart, and get this to mount right up on here. Alright, so this is all set. You can see here I've got this in there. And what it is a little notch on the inside of this part of the tail case here. It fits in that hole on the tail boom. So I did end up loosening up these other 3 bolts here so I could just spread this for a little bit further apart. I didn't take them out, just loosen them up, and I could spread this further apart, get the tail boom in there, tighten it together so it's all together. And then after you get together, just make sure you've got your belt moving nice and smoothly and in the right direction. So after that, then you got to go to this, the tail case, or the tail boom mount. What you got to do is there's 4 screws on this back part, 2 on each side. Take out 2 of them, and then you got to pull this apart. And sometimes this can be a pain in the butt to get this apart, but it'll pry apart. And one thing about this I want to caution you about, if I can get this apart, there we go. Now, these pieces, you'll see they pop right out. That's fine. What I want to caution you about is here. On the bottom of this one, there's a little brass washer right there. Don't lose that. It's on the bottom. You need that on there. So anyways, back to this. So we got the tail boom. You know that you got your belt moving in the right direction. You gotta do is you gotta do a quarter turn clockwise. Make it go like that. Then got to get the pulley in there. Pull that back. And I'm going to go ahead and get this positioned on here. There we go. Make sure it's all good to go. Now I'm going to go through, tighten, put these 2 screws back here, tighten this down. You know, after, I want to give a little tension on this belt before I tighten them down, I should say. But then, you know, I'm going to get those tightened down, and then I'll go ahead and put this back in to the helicopter. Okay, so I've got the tail boom all put in here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount my vertical fin, and the screws are already in here for this. And then, see here, this piece comes in the same package as the tail boom. And you also get this little package of 4 screws. The 4 screws go into this. They hold 2 of them are to hold the top horizontal fin on. And then the other 2 are for the boom supports. And then the boom down here, there's already a screw where that'll screw. You take that screw out and you put the boom support in here. I'm also going to just put my tail blades on since I'm back here. And one other thing I did want to show you, these should be glued on to these. Now, if they're not, you are going to want to glue them on there. But make sure you got them positioned right on the helicopter before you glue them. You don't want to glue them in the wrong position because that's just going to, you know, ruin your day. So make sure you glue them in the right position, but again, they should be glued. So I'm going to put all that on, and then I'm going to move on to putting the rotor head on. Okay, so I've got the boom all set straightened away. Got my fins mounted. Blades are on. Boom supports are on. Now moving on to the rotor head and the main gear. Main gear is pretty simple. You just slide it in through the side there. The nut and bolt for it are in the same package for it. And then when you get ready to slide your rotor head in, just loosen up this little collar nut, slide that up in the top, and then slide the head and stuff down through. And what you're going to need to do is line up the hole in the bottom of the main shaft with the hole in the bottom of the main gear there. Put your pin in, or your screw in, tighten that up, and then after it's tight, I'm going to pull the whole rotor head up so you can't pull it up anymore. Slide that shaft collar nut back down, and then tighten that up so that way you have no vertical up and down play in your rotor head. So I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, so that's all tightened up here. A little shaft collar nut. So the swash plate guide here, this is just kind of in its own little separate bag, but in the same bag you get the little canopy mounts, and these will actually just screw right in to the swash plate guide. And there's a little hole in them, so you can insert like a screwdriver and then turn it to tighten them up all the way. Then you'll also get your little canopy grommets for the canopy holes there. Go ahead and put them on. Okay, and then to get the fly bar in, you'll have little Allen grub screws here. You loosen them up, and then there's a screw in here. Now on mine, I actually had to unscrew it with another screwdriver to get it out. But sometimes though, you can just pull them out. Depends. After you do that though, your fly bar has little notches where those little Allen grub screws go through. So you just get this slid through and then tighten it down on those notches. It's always a good thing just to verify that it is the same length from the middle to the ends on each side. But then you're going to go ahead and put your fly bar paddles on, go ahead and mount your main blades and the canopy, and then the kit's all finished. Alright guys, here's the finished product, fully assembled kit. Now again, that's just how to assemble the kit. You're going to want to go through, check all the bearings, make sure apply grease to them, check all your bolts, apply thread locker to any bolt that goes into a metal part, and you know, there's a bunch of them. So, you know, really go through, check the kit. There's a couple parts that have been recommended to replace. If you go on the forum, myrcguide.com, there's people on there that can tell you the parts that you should probably want to change out. Again, I'm using mine for an Apache scale fuselage kit here, so I'm going to be going a little different route with mine, but be sure to watch this build for this Apache here because it's going to be really cool. But, like I said, that's just how you build the kit, so look for my other videos, and I hope you had fun.